is episode 185 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, a very energetic Metal Rob. And with me, as always, is the great
Carcos Juan.
Car crash, John.
Car crash, Caracas.
And that dude.
Oop, wrong way. Here we go. Oh, no, this way.
Yep,
This
yep.
way.
This way.
And that dude right there.
There we go. Look at that. We're touching fingers.
Gross.
Oh. Long distance that never works.
I
Anyway.
barely like to shake hands.
I don't even remember what I named myself something today. I don't even remember what it was. So
Oh, it was, hang on. I saw it. New Wave of something.
Welcome
New
back,
Wave of
Rob.
British Waters. Scott, New Wave of British Waters.
Chris
I like
Manning,
it.
speaking of which, he says, welcome back, Rob. Metal implied. I like that.
Yes. We have AZ Mick here. We have Metal Overkill. And Chris Manning is watching, who has a brand new album
Yes.
coming out on.
No, it's out. It is out now. You can buy it now and get it shipped to you now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But the actual release date is Friday, right?
It is, but it's shipping now.
Hey, it showed up and it is shipping. So, and it is hitting like a ton of bricks. It's a fantastic album. I will say this, not because I've known the guy for 30 years, but with all seriousness, I think it's going to be it might be my album of 2023. It'll definitely be in my top 2 or 3 of 23. It is that freaking good. So, if you are so inclined to go grab it, make sure and check out the first one too, because the first one is just as good. It's just A and B of badass melodic.
Yeah, they
heavy rock.
both have Chris Hodges singing on them. They both have guest guitar spots from Bruce Kulick on there.
Yep.
And they're both Chris Manning, and that's awesome.
Right.
Yes, and the songwriting is you tend to think, okay, he's a guitar player. Under his name is probably a bunch of wankery. It's not. It is
No.
fantastic guitar playing, but fantastic songwriting.
Yeah, and you get some instrumental stuff, which is cool. So Chris can, show off his flash and what a great guitar player he is. But if you don't see that inside the songs anyway, you need to clean your ears out. That's the way I.
Well, and all the noodling aside, we've talked about this before. Sometimes less is more in the fact that it's a well-crafted song with a killer solo or what have you. I mean, that just speaks to a better song. But anyway,
it's one of those
it doesn't hurt that
things
he's got
where
sorry.
I've known him for so long that that I hear the songs from idea phase through demo phase through finished song phase through mastered phase through all that, and so we get to talk about it a lot. And the one thing that Chris always talks about is, does it serve the song? Does it serve the song? And he's had great input from some great players, but it's his bus and he's driving it, and the songs are his, and my gosh, they're great. Sorry to get distracted, but I want to blow up your label, Scott, because it's a great release on a great label.
And I'll also add, it doesn't hurt that he has a world-class vocalist.
Correct. Correct. Yep. All right, Carcass, I think your shirt, I was looking at it while we were talking. I'm going to give a guess of, hang on. I'm
pretty sure it's a worship band. I think it says Maranatha.
Leg hater?
Nope. You're close. It starts with a P.
Is it plasma something?
It's plasmodulated.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Now these guys are from that Florida swamp stuff with like bands like Wharf Lurch and and Worm and the like.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of a thing down in that, it's kind of like the old days back in Tampa at Morrisound Studios, where they just cranked out Malevolent Creation, Obituary, just one right after the other, and this is kind of like the new thing. So,
well, hey Scott, sorry, thought you were done there.
No, I'm waiting for the shout outs, and then we're on our way.
Yeah. Hey Scott, put a link to if you can, put a link up to Chris's album.
You got it. Give me 5 seconds. It'll be
I always
there.
talk about stuff like that, and then I forget to post up links. but it might be easier for you to find it.
Yep.
So I'll start the shout outs and the new arrivals, if that's cool.
Okay.
First of all, it is the birthday of a friend of the show, a very good friend of the show, the great Larry Berrigan from Hellstar.
Yep.
And it's his birthday today, so send Larry a shout out and tell him how much you love him and love his music. He's been doing it for over 40 years. And it dawned, I saw him last week, and it dawned on me that I've been listening to his music for almost 40 years. So amazing how fast time flies. A few pickups real quick. I grabbed Oni Logan, the Cosmic Trust Sessions. It's good. The first song is very, very Lynch Mob. It's a good EP, 4 songs. Kind of changes styles a little bit throughout the 4 songs. I listened to it about 4 times yesterday. It's good. I'm not completely blown away, but it's good. But anything Oni sings on, I want it. I will definitely be spinning it quite a bit. I'm not trying to poo-poo it in any way. I just need to let it sink in a little more, but I dig it.
Man, he's got a great voice, though. Holy
gosh,
cow.
I love that dude. Yes.
Yeah.
I just love it.
It's kind of like the Chris Manning thing. You know, you could be a great player and the music is just average, kind of like being a great vocalist. And if the music behind you is not quite up to par, I don't know. But he's got a great voice. Holy cow.
Oni serves the song too, yes.
Yep.
I picked this up over at Born Late. I'd never heard of it. I couldn't find it on Discogs or eBay. That sticker's not supposed to be on there. Fairchild, Ready to Rock. I finally found one song on YouTube, and it is butt rock of the highest order. So, of course, I was excited. And when I was in Denver last week, I picked up an old Christian metal classic. Christian metal is not a huge staple in my collection.
Come on.
I do remember this classic, Rage of Angels.
Oh, that's a good one.
I picked up a beautiful copy of this. Hopefully, somebody will reissue this one day. But I remember this from my, I started to say from my early 90s. I picked it up in the early 90s. But anyway, it was cool to find that. So Rage of Angels. And then I also found, and did not realize this was hard to find and that it was this expensive, The Obsessed, The Church Within.
Oh, that's a great one.
An interview with Wino a couple years ago. But
Yep.
This is a really cool record. And I didn't have it on CD, so I picked that up.
Sweet.
Carcass, shout them out.
Okay, well, one of our listeners, Donnell Blair, who's also in Pass the Ammunition, has a real medical challenge this week, and he will be going under the knife, as Twisted Sister would say, on Thursday. So whatever you do, your prayers, incantations, private positive vibes, what have you, send them his way. He's a little nervous, and rightfully so, but he's a good cat, man. Good things will happen. And I saw him at a the Queen and I actually got out. She got out into more of a normal setting. We went and saw Prophecy on Saturday night, and I don't know if you know anything about Prophecy from the local Dallas-Fort Worth area, but they've been kicking it death metal, old school Texas death metal, old school style since for 35 years. And their new lineup is probably their best. They've got a little mixture of young and old, and Drew Duffy, their new lead singer, is awesome. And in fact, Houston, they're coming to you. They'll be down there on my birthday weekend, September 23rd, at the Concert Pub North. Look for Prophecy to just absolutely lay waste to any. They are complete poser disposers, and they will take care of business down there. And speaking of pickups, I picked up the new Unearth, and as you can see, it's signed by all the guys. They played here. This was at the very end of their tour. And Chris O'Toole, who's been on the show, and it's kind of a very cool tour, only kind of a smoky, clear red. Chris, who's been on the show a couple times, hooked us up with some backstage access, and we hung out with them in the band, and and like I said, we're trying to get the Queen back to normal. She goes back to work next week, and so we had a great time. And not really my genre, but I'm telling you what, those dudes have been, once again, another band that's been together for 25 years.
Yep.
And as my grandpa would say, if you don't know what you're doing after that long, then you haven't been paying attention. So, but they were really good. Even Bleeding Through, who was their direct support, was really, really good. I was surprised that we both liked them. And but I appreciate Chris for hooking us up, and Unearth for signing the record. So and this is actually a really, really good record. And Chris has had an opportunity finally to help with some of the writing and
Oh,
instrumentation, and they've got something clicking pretty good.
I don't have that one. I need to get that one.
Yeah, it's called The Wretched and the Ruinous. It's on Century Media, and it's a good one. Sonically, it's brilliant, man. I'm not sure you could do much with it, even with your skills. But
No, I got no skills.
but it was a fun weekend. We got to get out and see some family and friends, people we hadn't seen in a while. But like I said, shout out to Donnell. I know he'll pull through on Thursday, but it's pretty serious. And then look for Prophecy down in H-Town, and then the boys from Unearth. This was the last night of their show. Sunday was the last night that they of the tour, and so they'll be home for 3 months and then right back out at it, and maybe even Europe. So fun times was had by all.
Awesome. Scooter?
Scott?
I'll just be quick. I was going to shut out Chris, but we already did that. So, but I'm addicted to this record right here, right now. The new Witch Hazel.
Oh wow!
Fantastic. This is their.
Now they're going to
fourth
be
record.
at the they're going to be at the Hell's Heroes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
speaking of which, Paul Melander reminded me, Solitude freaking Eternus is doing a reunion at that Hell's Heroes, and that
Yes,
is
they are.
astounding. That is something I never thought would happen. And Rob and I know John on a one-on-one level. We've known him for years, and I would have nearly bet the house that this would never happen with that lineup, and it is pretty amazing.
Hey, and while we're on that subject real quick, Scott, sorry to interrupt you, buddy. The Solitude Eternus thing, I was talking to JP down at Born Late the other day, and they did an interview on KNON on Sunday night on Reckless Rock Radio, friend of the show, Greg Spicoli and Lee Russell. They had the guys on their show. So you can go to knon.org, and you can go look at the shows, and you can listen to that interview. I think it's up there for like 2 weeks. So if you really want some insight into what those guys have got going on, Paul, go over to knon.org and do a little snooping around, and you'll be able to find on the Reckless Rock Radio page. That show should be up on their website for a week or two, so you can check that out.
And
I have
maybe we
not
can,
heard it yet.
and maybe we can plan on John Perez being on with us maybe a
I
couple
already
weeks
asked
into the. Yeah, I bet you
Yep.
did.
In the spring before the show. Yep.
All right, Scott, what else?
that's all. Let's get into it.
Before we so rudely interrupted you.
Yeah, sorry, dude. Well, start us off, Scott. This was your topic, so bring us into it, man.
So my initial idea was, these bands that have been around for decades and decades, 60s and 70s bands, but we've expanded it out. But, talking about their newest albums and asking if are they as good as, or do we like them as much as their old early material, which is always going to be hard because especially if a band you've loved for decades, for me, like a band like Aerosmith, which I've been a fan of since I literally was a kid in grade school, there's that nostalgia thing, which is always going to be hard to overcome for the stuff you grew up with. But are the new albums as good as the old albums? So we kind of pulled a bunch of stuff, and I guess I'll start off by pulling. I might as well just pull the Aerosmith one since I just mentioned them. I have it sitting right here. I mean, this is their last studio album.
It's shocking that you would start with Aerosmith. Not shocking.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I mentioned it, so I might as well start with it. But this is their last studio album. They've released several live albums since then that are very well done. But this album here, to me, is I wanted to like it because I love the band so much. And there's a few songs I do like, but overall, This thing is it's just not good. I was trying to think of a nice way to say that. So
Trying to keep it a family show, Scott.
Yes, I am. There's actually a version that came out on Walmart that came with an extra disc, and it has tracks that were recorded for the album that weren't used on the album. And some of those tracks are better than the tracks that are actually on the album. But it was obvious that they were trying for pop hits here. I mean, obviously there's like 4 ballads on here. They got Carrie Underwood singing on here. It's nobody wants that from Aerosmith. I understand that Tyler was on that big singing show, whatever it was called. What was that? He was a judge for years on that.
Oh, America's Got Talent or something.
American Idol. American
Oh,
Idol.
American
right?
Idol. Yeah.
So I get it that he was living in that world, but Aerosmith. Who wants to hear that from Aerosmith? I mean, does anybody really want to hear Carrie Underwood singing on an Aerosmith record? I didn't. So, but there's a few good songs, and the good songs are all written by Joe Perry. So there's that. But overall, I wouldn't. This album never gets played anymore. I mean, I played it a lot when it first came out because I wanted to like it so much, but it's just not a good record from them, and it doesn't touch their classic 70s material. However, the Joe Perry Project,
speaking of which,
just came out with this album this year. This is Switzerland Manifesto Mach 2. So Switzerland Manifesto Mach 1 came out a few years ago. And I bought this, assuming it was the vinyl version of this finally. And that's not the case. This is Mach 2. It's mostly all new material. There's 2 songs, I think, that carried over from here to here. And I'm not even sure they're the same recording. They've got, what's the guy's name? The singer from New York Dolls singing most of the tracks on here. Joe Perry sings as well.
David Sylvian?
No, that's not right.
It's yeah.
Anyhow, and now also Robin Zander sings a track on here as well. So it's a really good record.
Oh, David Johansen. Okay,
that's it. David Johansen. He sings a lion's share of the material on here. It's just good, straightforward hard rock like you would expect from the Joe Perry Project or Aerosmith. It's a really good record. It far outweighs this. And although I like this record, I think it's better than this one too, because this one had a lot of experimental stuff on it, which I thought was kind of cool at the time, but it's not something you want to listen to over and over again. Whereas this one here, I've only had it for a few weeks and I've already played it 3 or 4 times. So that's my Aerosmith rant.
That's your initial blast.
That's my Aerosmith rant, and that can be over now.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Or are we?
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple real quick. I am a huge proponent of modern tracks from classic bands. I am a huge proponent of new music from old school bands, albums, singles. I don't care. I want to hear it. I want people to support those bands as much as I want them to support new music as well, and new original music by anybody needs to be supported. But a couple of the things that I've championed on the show for it seems like a million years now is there are some bands that I simply don't like their early classic catalog, and you guys are probably going to fire me from the show, and I get that.
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah. I'll start with this. I tried again last week to listen to Secret Treaties. I don't get it. I don't connect with it. I'm a Blue Oyster Cult greatest hits fan, but this thing is the album of their career, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's because they got that guitar player in there and he gave them a shot in the arm in the songwriting department. I don't know.
Well, so I agree with you. I love the early catalog, but that thing is their best record.
It's absolutely front to back their best album, and everything else give me the greatest
dissension in the ranks. I can't wait to hear.
Well, and what I started doing was I was like, well, gosh, that means I haven't heard any relevant Blue Oyster Cult since the 80s, except for this. So I started going backward from this, and I picked up a couple. If I could put my hands on it. Like Heaven Forbid. That was tough to track down. Great album, Great album.
How about, was it Ninja Cafe?
Oh, Club Ninja.
Club Ninja.
Club Ninja?
Club Ninja.
Haven't listened to this one. No, that's not true. I listened to it a little bit. Haven't revisited it. It was okay. But this thing is the album of their career. I love you, Scott. What are you gonna say?
If I did a top 5 Blue Oyster Cult albums, it would be their first album, Blue Oyster Cult, would be on that top 5. Tyranny and Mutations would be on there. Secret Treaties would be on there. Cultosaurus Erectus and Fire of Unknown Origin would all come before that album in my list.
Wow.
Now, Mirrors would definitely. I don't think Mirrors is a great album. I also don't think that Spectres was a great album. Agents of Fortune is their most popular record, but I also don't think it's a solid record. It just has one of their biggest hits on it, being what do you call it? Don't Fear the Reaper. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And Godzilla and all that.
Godzilla wasn't on that record, but
it's not.
No, but I just don't think that's as good as the 5 records I named. Their first 3. Do you have Fire of Unknown Origin or Cultosaurus
I've
Erectus?
owned them all. I've owned them all on vinyl and different CDs probably over the years, and I just never could connect with BOC. I connect with a lot of their songs. I do not connect with a lot of their albums. I just don't.
Well,
cool.
I mean, I agree to disagree, and I agree in part with your premises. But I took a different tack to this thing, and I see 2 things that pop up on the comments. Grego mentioned Overkill, and I pulled an Overkill record. And Jason Ellsworth mentioned Death Angel. And Scott, we talked about this one, the Bastard Tracks, last week, or the last time we had a show. Once again, don't sleep on these guys, because how long has Overkill been in business? 35, maybe almost 40 years? They came out in what, 83?
Right.
So 40 years.
And one of the questions, sorry, but I think to help make your point, one of the questions that Scott brought up when we were talking about the show was, are the good albums as good as the old albums? So we need to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Too.
Well, I think that their new albums, like taking Overkill, for example, I think the new Overkill is as good as the early stuff.
I agree.
I still lend myself to the early stuff because that's what I grew up on. That's what and I love that first 5 series up to Horoscope. And then it got a little wacky, but they were always super consistent. And Death Angel, man, I did a reverse on their catalog too. I started with their most recent, and then I worked my way backwards, and I think they all hold up.
I think so too. Very consistent.
Yeah, I think they're one of the more consistent bands that we rarely talk about. But probably more to your point, and I'm sure you pulled this one, the Kansas.
Oh my gosh.
The absence of presence, and you and I talk all the time about yes, that one, the Prelude Implicit. That is a top in the last 10 years. That's a top 10 record for me.
I agree, and we've talked about this before on the show. You turned me on to those later Kansas albums. I was never a Kansas fan outside of, once again, their greatest hits, the songs I heard on the radio, whatever. I've got the best of Kansas just because you're supposed to have that. And so I have it on CD, and it does have Perfect Lover on it. Somebody asked me about that a few shows ago. But these 2 albums for me, the thing about music is, if you were there when it came out and you discovered it in real time, I think there's a real connection there. And even in the 2020s, when these guys put out albums, it's just like you finding out about Left Overture in the 70s. Well, I find out about this right now, so it connects to me. Is it better than the previous albums? I think so. Am I a heretic for saying that? Probably yes, because those albums are so freaking classic. And I understand that. They're not bad albums. Are the new albums as good? I think every bit as good, and in some cases better.
Well,
And these Kansas records are just 10 out of 10.
and I think too that especially when there's been such a gap between recordings, and then all of a sudden they hit you over the head with the Prelude Implicit. I mean, it had been darn near 15 years since they had recorded anything. I thought Kansas was just a novelty at that point, and they reinvented themselves, and despite not having, I mean, when I remember hearing that record, thinking, man, Steve Walsh really sounds great. It took me 5 songs before I realized that wasn't Steve Walsh.
I didn't see. I was not up on anything Kansas, and so when I bought it, I just thought, oh yay, this is the classic Kansas guy. So I am thrilled to death that they found a singer that can deliver that stuff. Yes, Frazier. What about Exhorter?
Yeah. Speaking of which, well, and see this, I didn't know what I was going to do today, but this became super fun, super quick. Let me just run through a couple of classic rock because I pulled a whole bunch of other stuff, but
yeah, I mostly pulled classic rock stuff because I was thinking 60s, 70s.
But you know, look, say what you want about early Kiss. They're all fantastic. We're all Kiss fans here, but that's a great record. Okay, Sonic Boom is a good record. Monster is a good record. I don't care what anybody says. I'll fight you in the parking lot.
I think it's okay record. I listened to it today for the first time in a long time, and I enjoyed it. There's a lot of good songs on here. Do I think it's better than their classic material?
It's not Dress to Kill. It's not Rock and Roll Over. It's none of those.
But it's not bad. I mean, it's better than that Aerosmith record. So I mean,
yeah,
it's good. I think the best song on there is "Freak," and the rest of it I can barely remember. So to answer the question, is it better? Nah, it's good.
How about Hell or Hallelujah is another standout track on that album, I think.
So how about this? Rush.
Yeah, that's a good album.
I think they changed a little bit to accommodate Geddy's voice. That to me was a little darker album. And I don't mean dark like they were depressed. I mean, it was just a little darker sounding album. I liked it quite a bit. I haven't revisited it very much. Also, I'm not the biggest Rush fan. But to answer the question,
I'm glad they ended on this note. I'm glad they ended on this because some of that stuff got kind of like Counterparts and all that. That some of that stuff got weird. Let's admit it.
Yeah.
And then let's just get rid of these 2 classics. How about Deep Purple?
Oh my gosh.
I think we agree that Deep Purple is as good now as they were back then. And I don't care how many changes they've had. They're just a dang good band.
I think it's their latest studio album from them with Swoosh.
Yes.
I think it's really well done. I mean, it's not going to overtake their classic 70s material. Ian Gillan's voice isn't the same. He's one of my all-time favorite vocalists. He's one of those guys I've like dreamed of meeting my whole life, and I'm sure I never will. But you're not going to hear him singing like he did on, In Rock anymore. But,
right. But they don't do anything. They don't do anything to taint the legacy of the band.
No, they don't. They're not trying to mix. They're not trying to do rap, reggae, kind of crap, or some other weird mix of styles.
No, that's Glenn Hughes.
I think this is a really good record.
It is.
Again, is it better than their classic material? I don't know that I'd say that, but it's a really good album.
Okay.
No way. I don't know, man. Deep Purple's catalog is deep.
Before we get off of Deep Purple, those guys have hit a 3-run homer on their last 3 studio albums. Whoosh is great. Infinite is fan-fucking-tastic. And before that, was it Now What or So What? I can't remember.
Now What?
So good. But again, I connected with those as they came out. Chris will shoot me next time he sees me. I like those better. I'm not saying they're better albums than the old stuff. I prefer them over the old stuff. Greatest hits for me back in the old stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think there's any.
There's no way to touch. Camera. That's why I keep doing this.
There's no way. There's no way they can ever touch In Rock, Fireball, Machine Head.
Of course,
those albums are just so iconic. But again, like I said, I think they're great albums. Now I pulled that one too. I like it, but I know a lot of people hate it. I don't know why. I mean,
And why? What's the number one thing? The reason why they hate it?
I have no idea.
It sounds too modern, and the songs are too long.
I thought, now, first of all, I want to qualify some things. I love all of you, and even though we differ in opinion, that's why we come together, to hang out and talk, even if we disagree. I found that album. I pulled it, Scott. I think this is one of the most boring heavy metal albums in my collection. I think it is tremendously boring. Is it well done? Sure. Is it well recorded? Yes. Are there cool?
Of course, it's Rick Rubin.
But gosh, I just think it's boring. I know one song that I can even remember.
God is Dead.
Yeah. I didn't connect with this at all. I bought the big vinyl box set, punted it almost immediately, kept this in my collection because it's a Black Sabbath record and I want to have everything. I thought it was super, super boring.
Well, to your point, I saw them on the End tour.
I'm about to piss off the Maiden fans too.
And they played one or two songs off that, but of course they played the rest of the songs they played were from their back catalog, which is what made the tour great.
Correct. But Mark is correct about Suffocation too.
Hey, how about this then? Let's just jump. Let's not waste any time.
Let's get on it.
I literally just posted on my Facebook page this album and I asked people which album is better, this album or this album.
Oh, it's not even close.
And
I don't think it's close either.
I'm not even kidding. I think I have like 300 responses. I'm gonna say 80% of the people are picking this album, but there are some people who say this album is just crap and Senjutsu is brilliant. And I don't get it, because as much as I love Maiden, I've loved them since I was a kid. This is just bloated to me and samey, and I can't ever get through it in one listen. Right. And I tried. It's just like the Aerosmith record. I want to like it because it's Maiden, but it just doesn't do it for me.
Yep.
It's got a few good songs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it sucks. It's just not. I don't know.
Since Angel of Retribution, when Rob came back,
yes,
I think they have done nothing but ramp it up since then. Is this album as good as their classics? Absolutely.
I think it's better than some of their classics.
It's as good as Painkiller. I think it's as good as Screaming for Vengeance. This is a top 3 or 4.
But Rob, is it better than Turbo?
Yes.
Yes. Is it better than their 70s catalog? To me, no. But it's dang close. I don't think they'll ever touch their 70s catalog again.
I think they could stop recording and kind of like the Rush, except magnified. That could be their legacy right there. That would be a great record. But they're recording a new record, right?
But I'm with you, Scott. I want to echo some of what you said. I can't, man. I saw them on both tours. I'll see them when they come back. I haven't really connected with much from them. I liked Final Frontier pretty good, although I thought it dropped off quite a bit. But man, I don't get it.
But neither one of those that you're holding in your hand even come close to even Seventh Son.
No.
Or Somewhere in Time, or Power Slave, or Fear of the Dark.
But then if you go onto my Facebook page and read some of the comments, and I'm not arguing with people, it's just I'm asking their opinion so they can say whatever they want. But there are several people who said, I connect with that way more than I connect with their 80s stuff. But I said this at the beginning. I said this at the beginning, though. Nostalgia is hard to overcome. I grew up with Maiden, so those first 4 or 5 albums to me are just untouchable. Those are the albums I loved as a teenager and in my early 20s. So is this going to be able to overtop it? No. But I'm looking at the age. I clicked on the age to look at the age of some of these. And some of the kids that are listening to this are kids. So this is this is new to them.
Came out on their watch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that.
I get that. Now, am I saying it's a horrible album? No. I don't like to trash people's art. And so many people like Spicoli, he freaking loves it, and that's awesome. And I love Spicoli, so it's cool. But it's just not my flavor of Maiden. My
I just think
Flavor
it's
of Maiden
bloated.
Isn't even, and My Flavor of Maiden isn't even the first few albums. My Flavor of Maiden is Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave. That's where I'm at, right there. And the new one just doesn't do anything.
And you have the
I just-
Roundhouse tapes.
I just wonder
And
if
I
they had
do. Yes, I do.
a really good producer who could help them trim the songs down to get them to be, because they're overly long and they don't go anywhere.
And then we could
That's
say
what-
the same thing about. I almost said it. The bleeping Metallica.
Yeah, exactly.
Make
the
the
same
song compress your roll there, Chief. I don't need
Yeah.
an 8-minute song. I don't need a 9-minute song. Just give me a 5 or 6 minute song. Give me a 4-minute song that rips.
thing. Well, since we're doing albums that we think aren't great, let me see what you guys think of this one, because
Oh man. I
really didn't. What was the last album called? I can't remember the one that came out before this.
Was it
I
9?
didn't like that one, huh?
Was it
Black
9
Rain?
I don't remember.
or Black Rain or
No, Black Rain was longer ago. I don't know. I just I just can't connect with this. It's like, I don't know, man.
I'm
It
looking
just doesn't
this
work
up.
for me.
Let me see what's on it. Hang on. So whenever Under the Graveyard came out, the single, I played the shit out of it. I thought it was a great song. I couldn't wait to get the album. I don't remember anything else on here.
Well, there's a nice picture of Ozzy taking a piss in the back.
Right. At least
Is
it's
it
not on
against the Alamo?
I don't know what it's on. It looks like a hotel, rocks outside of a hotel, but I don't know, man. It's just, I get it. It's Ozzy. I get it. He's iconic, but I just haven't liked much of his stuff for a long time.
It feels like a cash grab to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
so anyhow, yeah, I
Later, Chris.
and then, honestly, I didn't even buy the last couple records. I didn't buy that record. I literally got it in a trade for a what's the name of the band? I don't know, for an old 70s record. I can't remember which one it was at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot for a trade. I would have given the guy the record he wanted anyhow without anything, but he's like, you need this? I'm like, sure, I'll check it out. I don't know, man. I can't connect with it. It just doesn't work for me.
Let me throw one out if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Go for it.
So, friend of the show, we've had him on, but this is not an ass-kissing mission, I promise. I got this before I knew him. For those of you back in the day that liked Open to the Public or the self-titled Spread Eagle, great, good albums. This thing dominates. Subway to the Stars, in my opinion, is their best album by a long shot, and the other ones are great. But man, this album is so good, and the production is fantastic. It's got big hooks. The songwriting is great. Great record. So if you're an 80s metalhead like me, call it what you want. Butt rock, 80s metal, I don't know, whatever it is.
I just wrote it down. I'm going to check it out.
There's so many names for it, but this is a killer hard rock album. I love it, and I think it's the best of their career. Is it as good as the old albums? I think it's better. Spread Eagle, Subway to the Stars, Frontiers Records. Go get
I
it.
throw up another one of my favorite 70s artists. This is the latest from Ted Nugent, Detroit
I
Muscle.
couldn't tell you anything since
It's a
Penetrator.
it's a good record. Would I put it up against his 70s stuff? I don't think so. It's good, but it's not great. However, I think this, which came out, I don't know, a couple decades
early
ago.
odds? That was
This
the
is
early
crazy.
odds. What?
This is Crave Man. This came out in, I don't know, 99 or something like that, 2000, something like that. This album and then this one are spectacular. This is Love Grenade. I can't remember what year this came out either. 2007. I think this one came out in like 99 or 2000. But I think these albums are spectacular. But I don't think he's been able to touch them ever since. This album is good, but I don't know that I don't know. I'm kind of tired of songs about barbecue,
Okay.
or in this
Wow,
case,
is that a thing?
or in this case, American Campfire from him. I mean, I know that's what he's into, but every album seems to have a song about barbecue and campfires, and that's cool. But
What is he, Ted Stapleton? Well, speaking of which, and I just heard this again for the first time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Rigor mortis, and I think this is the special. This is the special blood splattered edition. I hadn't heard this since it came out, and we were at a backyard. Speaking of barbecue, Scott, we were at a backyard barbecue at a guy's house, and somebody was playing this.
Barbecue?
Yeah, I put on the barbecue. Somebody was playing this over the PA, and I thought, man, that is so good. And they hadn't recorded together is the original lineup for 25, almost 30 years. They were just getting back together. This was Bruce and Mike and Casey and Hardin. And dude, the magic was not lost over that course of 2 decades where they were doing their own things between Ministry and War Beast and all the Speed Dealer and all the other stuff. And so I personally would hold this right next door to the first record. I don't think it's better, but it sure didn't disappoint. They didn't do anything to ruin their, whatever. And it's got the same type of themes, ghosts and hauntings and ghouls and bloodbath and infections and flesh of flies and blah blah blah. So man, Rigor Mortis rules, and we have a very personal connection since they're from this area. But we're talking about, is it as good as the old stuff? I think that in that particular case, I think it is.
Yes.
Before we move on, let me show you guys something. This is funny. You reminded me of it. It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it'll only take a second. So
Yeah.
This is the brand new Violence reissue of their classic first album, Eternal Nightmare. It's got a little sticker on there that says "Bloody Flesh Marble Vinyl." Blah.
Well, while you have that
really?
out, is that the one with the live record in it?
What color is it really? Ready for this? Hot pink.
Is that just a single, or does that have the live album in it?
It's just a single album.
Okay. Well, speaking of Violence, they hadn't been together for 20 years, and then they cranked this thing out.
That thing's great.
This thing smokes. And you know what? Once again, I know this isn't a classic 70s band, but these guys were integral in that whole Bay Area thrash thing. And this thing is, I mean, after Nothing to Gain and all the other projects like Machine Head and that schlock rock that they were putting out, and when they went their separate ways, I never thought something like this would ever happen again. And dude, this thing rules. I spin this frequently. So
yeah, it's really good.
Violence did nothing to ruin their legacy, I don't think.
You know what? It's also part of the thing I think I like about it so much is they didn't overstay their welcome on that album. It's
right.
Like it's short, it punches you in the face, and it's over.
Then they walk away.
Like,
but
and then you want to hear it again.
And you could say the same thing about this Exhorder, since somebody mentioned Exhorder earlier. They hadn't recorded in 20 years, and this thing absolutely will rip your head off. You will, if you put this in your car, Scott, on your way to work out, you will see your head bouncing down the freeway. I guarantee it.
That Exhorder record, I think it's the best one they've ever done.
It might very well be that's an arguable statement, but I think it might be right.
Let me pull one up that you might. I don't either one of you guys have it or have heard it, but this is the last Foghat studio record.
Never heard it.
I know
Under
Jack
the Influence.
Foghat, except
I love Foghat, especially the 70s material, all the way up through Boogie Motel, which was still one of my favorite albums from them. I mean, there really is only one guy left in the band from the original band, which is their drummer. So Roger Earl's the only, but you got Charlie Hunt on vocals.
Oh, well,
and he's been with them for a long time. Brian Bassett on lead slide guitar, and then Craig McGregor on bass guitar. And Craig McGregor's been with the band on and off for decades as well. But it's a good album. No, it's not. It's Foghat. It's boogie rock.
I'm just entertaining Francisco.
Foghat
slide
is
guitar.
awesome. I don't know that I mean, once they got to the Foghat Live, I think they were kind of on a slow spiral down. So I would love to hear what the new stuff sounds like.
Yeah, and actually, that's actually Roger Earl, the drummer on the cover right there.
Mm.
I think it's great. I don't like most of their '80s material when they started getting all new wavy, but up and through Boogie Motel, I think they were fantastic.
Sure.
How about this
Hey,
one? This is one that you guys, I know you guys have heard. Everybody's heard this one.
Dude,
Hey, there it is. Somebody brought that up earlier.
that thing rules.
I love it.
I even bought the
I think
little
it's-
house, the little.
I think it's a good album. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and
I think it's the second or third best Brian Johnson album.
I pulled it. A lot of these albums I pulled out and listened to over the last week, knowing we were going to do this, and I played this one. I'm like, man, it's a good album. I hadn't heard it in a while. And it's like, this is good.
Yeah.
So is it better? Is it better? I don't know. I love the Bon Scott era, so it's kind of hard to overcome that.
But once
it's a
again,
good
like
album.
we've talked about, like with Van Halen or whatever, it's a tale of two bands. You really can't compare them. Tony,
Is it better than Black and Black, or I don't know? I'd say that either, but you know,
I Back in Black is untouchable.
I think it's as good as For Those About to Rock.
Well, we salute you, Rob, for that opinion.
anybody,
You might be saluting me at my funeral. If
you guys got more to show, or you want to pull up more?
Oh, I've got. Well, see, once again, I went completely off the rails. So, Scott, this one's for you.
I haven't heard the new Tigers of Pantang.
This is Osric Tentacles Earp
Oh,
Songs.
God,
It was created back in 1984. I have. If you're not familiar, they released 6 tapes. I have all 6 tapes plus some of their other ones. And you can say what you want. Say what you want, Rob.
Butt Rock.
30 years later.
That album is great.
These
that
guys kill it.
Great.
I know you say if it's not rock or whatever, but these guys have been pecking around the scene since '83.
Butt Rock.
And they're great. Call it what you want, man. I'm
not
all
calling
over it.
I love
I love Osric Tentacles. I don't care if you call them ostrich testicles. I don't care. They're so awesome.
I don't have any idea what butt rock is. I have kids my kids are in their late 20s and early 30s, and they call music butt rock all the time. And I ask them, what is butt rock? And their stuff that they call butt rock is all stuff that I never even gave a rip about, like the post grunge crap and all that late 90s. And
I thought it was.
I always thought it was stuff like Van Halen, but no, that's not what they call it.
I thought it was.
So I think it must be a generational thing, because they swear that's not butt rock.
I thought it was like Poser Mark's music. Enough's Enough, Danger, Danger, Cinderella to some extent, Bang Tango, Tiger Tails.
I see what.
Well, I looked it up. I looked up butt rock on. I knew it would come up, so I looked it up on Loudwire, and I have it right here. And according to Loudwire, butt rock is bands like Creed, Puddle of Mud, Nickelback, Buck Cherry.
What?
So that's not what I thought it was, but
I mean, even though it's a slam of the music that I like, I kind of think my music is butt rock. I think it is.
I don't actually get the whole term is stupid to me, but then again, I think hair metal is stupid as well. So
right. But
well, see, I guess I'm getting butt rock and hair metal kind of confused, because
I think
they have something to do with anatomy. I guess I don't know.
So here you go. Alice in Chains, Rainier Fog.
Oh,
okay. You know what?
I love it.
You're not going to get an argument out of me. That thing is better than their first one.
I think, man, the first one is the nostalgia factor for me. Dirt is their absolute masterpiece. But
Okay.
I think this is right there in their top 3.
Yeah. How many albums?
What was the hit song on that one that you're holding up?
Never Fade.
Oh, that's a
Glenn Rogers asked the ever important question: is butt rock important?
Yes, it is.
There's that song. Is it something about your brain or something like that. That I can't remember
Check
what it
My
was.
Brain. That was on.
Oh my
the,
gosh, that song drove me freaking nuts. It would always be on at the gym. I hate that song.
oh my
Hate
gosh,
it.
I love
I
that
hate it.
song.
It is the most
Hey-
annoying song ever.
Hey,
It's the
Frazier.
same riff for the entire song.
Yeah, I could play that on a ukulele, by the way.
Hey, Frazier. Good bands have lots of great albums. These guys just happen to have more than 30 and somewhere in between 30 and 40, an untold amount of bootlegs. I mean, special pressings. And welcome to Devlin Finley. He's new to the show.
All
Thanks
right,
for
I'm
showing
gonna
up.
I'm gonna crank through a few before we run out of time here.
Okay.
About Pat Travers, who's just been consistently releasing music since the 70s, and I love his 70s material. He went really bluesy for a long time,
Sure.
but his last couple albums have been just back to the straightforward, guitar-driven hard rock. That I think this is a great album. This is from
Is it as
last
good
year,
as
I think.
Crash and Burn? Because I just listened to that the other day, and man, I forgot how great that thing was.
That is a great album. Yes, I think it's up there with Crash and Burn. I really do.
Wow.
And you can get this record like for $15. So anyhow, I love it. How about this one? I don't think is as good as their classic material. This is Nectar.
You know what? I actually heard that, and you can't touch their early stuff. Nectar was a very important key to that whole krautrock thing. And yes, I can say that it's not racist.
No, that's what it was called. This was I don't know. It's all about. Look at all the guests we have on here. Look at this list up here. This is a list of all the guest stars playing on it.
It's too overly produced. It's not jammy enough for me. It's like,
I mean,
hey,
you got all the
us,
big names on here: Steve Howe, Rick Wakeman, Nick Turner, Ginger Baker, Derek Sherinian. I mean, these are all huge names, you know.
Sure.
Then there's tons of Billy Sheehan. There's the whole list is all these names you need, but
so it's not really a Nectar album. It's like an all-star at the studio one night album.
Yep. Yeah. Anyhow, it's. I'm not saying it's bad. It doesn't suck by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not. It's not going to touch those classics 70s. And I always call them a German band, but someone always corrects me. They're a UK band. They're kind of a mixture of both. So
yep.
I got another one. This one I think is a fantastic record, and these guys have been putting out a string of great records.
I haven't heard any of those new records.
Man, I tell you what, they still got it, Rob. You need to probably.
I've seen them live a bunch of times.
Yeah, you need to check them out. That's a quality record right there, and their new stuff is.
It's good. Now
it's good.
I don't think Phil Mogg has the pipes he used to have. He's not hitting the same high notes that he used to hit, but the songs aren't written for that anyhow. So he's using his voice well, and they're good songs. I like this record a lot. So I actually just recently picked up the vinyl, and I've already played it like 2 or 3 times. What year just come out? It wasn't that long ago. Was it? Anybody remember?
2018 or 19?
Was it really that long ago? I'm gonna look it up.
So.
It's gonna make me nervous.
Well, I've got 3 left, and I can just whip through these really quick.
Go for it. I'm looking up this UFO real quick.
Okay, I know you're gonna disagree, but Napalm Death has been killing it now for 35, almost 40 years, and this is their most recent release, and it is stupid sick, heavy riffing, and Rob is a convert to the Barney Greenway school of swatting flies. Guess who? Of course, my namesake, Carcass. This might be their best overall album. I love all their other stuff. I love Necroticism. I love their Gurgling and Gargling records. But this thing rules. They have done nothing wrong to taint their legacy. And here's the coup de grace.
You said taint.
Yes, I did. I've said it twice. I said it last week, too. Exodus. Does anyone want to argue with me that this holds up against even the early stuff? And don't give me that Burned by Blood's their early album. I'll fight you in the parking lot right now.
No, their last couple have been great, and I thought even the stuff with Dukes was good.
You know what?
You ever seen this?
Yes, I think that's killer.
No, it was good. Rob Dukes or otherwise, Those are great Exodus albums.
You know,
I
a
don't-
couple of weeks ago, I had
I haven't actually popped this one open yet. I have the CD, so I've heard it, but
yeah,
this-
that's a cool
Awesome.
package. But I even had the Queen pick some songs for me for the show, for the Crypt show, and she picked Exodus, I Am Abomination with Rob Duke singing, and I'm like, Rob Duke's. I kind of rolled my eyes, and then I listened to it, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. Gary Holt is a riffing master.
my problem with the Rob Duke's albums is Rob Duke's. I not that he's a bad singer, he just sounds like every other modern metalcore
He's
singer.
not Steve Souza. He's not Zetro, but
Right.
there's Shovelhead Kill Machine is a kill, and the Exhibition records are killer.
I think so too.
Yep.
I got 4 more records to go, so when you guys are done, let me
And
know.
Testament, I can't disagree with that. But
Me
go
too.
ahead, fire away, because I'm
Me too,
out.
my
I had Obituary that made a great comeback, and then
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I'm done.
I'll throw my last one out, and then we'll let Scott close out the show.
All right.
Carcass, I know you're going to be 100% on board with this. These guys may have gotten better every time. Hellstar.
Absolutely.
This thing is
Nice
clad in
cover, too,
black.
by the way.
It's a 2-disc set. The first one is an EP with some new songs and some cover songs. And then CD2 is a reissue of Vampiro, which is a blistering freaking album.
Yep.
But I can't say enough about Hellstar, not just because we're friends with Larry. They're just badasses.
Yeah.
It's so good. Is it?
And
as
they
good
have
as
cool
their early
graphics,
stuff?
too.
Is it? Yes, that's true. Is it as good as their early stuff? You're damn skippy it is.
Okay, TJ just opened the whole can of whoop ass. Bonded by Blood versus the re-recorded Bonded by Blood. What do y'all think is better?
I like them both. I really think the new one, the recording, just brings it out and annihilates. I really like it.
I
Is
do
it
too.
better?
Scott,
I don't know.
Scott said it. I'm just gonna casually agree with him. I think you're right. I love all the Exodus records. Yes, all of them. Even Force of Habit, even whatever. I don't care. All the Exodus are great, but Bonded by Blood is terrible, terrible, terrible production, and the recording of it I think is fantastic. I like
agree.
it.
Yep, I agree. Okay, I'm gonna crank them through real quick because we're running out of time. This is the brand new album, just came out. This is their best album since 1983. Brand new Jag Panzer. This thing is incredible.
Is that
I
with
was-
Harry Conklin?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This is fantastic. Here, I'll pop it open real quick here. Yeah, this thing is incredible. I pre-ordered this thing because I wanted to have it right away. I was on a Jag Panzer kick as it was due to the fact that we had recently done a Jag Panzer reissue, and I was
So
all
is
geeked out.
Is that Chris Broderick? Is Chris
No.
Broderick back
Chris
in the
Broderick
band?
Chris Broderick only played, as far as I know, on one album.
Man, he's a good guitar player. Holy cow.
Looking because you'll know all these guys in this band have been in this band for a long time, except for the second guitar player. Let's see here. Songs written by, so it's Briotti, of course, Conklin, of course. Where's the name of the freaking band at? Layout, Travis Smith. Huh. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't see the names of the guys on here anywhere. Of course not, because I'm looking for them and I want them right now. But anyhow, it doesn't matter.
But no Chris Broderick. We know that.
No, there's no Chris Broderick, but he was never an original member anyhow. He was just he played on what was what
Fourth
album was it?
Dimension.
What was the one we worked on, Rob? You remember? I know we've done a million albums, but anyhow, it's just put if you like Jag Panzer, give this one a listen. It is fantastic, and I loved the fact that they did an old school mail campaign. This is the third. Of course, it's got my address on it, but oh well. This is the last one of the 3 they sent, and it's got these little goggles on there, and you can look up and read the secret message written inside of here with the little goggles. But it's all they sent 3. The other 2 are postcards, and then this thing to all the people on their mailing list as a way to advertise for the new album. I thought that was brilliant. Very old school. I'm probably costing a fortune, but thought it was just a very cool idea. Anyhow,
Hey, by the way, Chris Broderick was Jag Panzer for 97 to 2008.
okay, cool. Who's in the band now? If you're looking it up,
Okay, hang on.
because I know most of those guys. I think all four, except for the second guitar player, have been in that band forever. 2 original members, of course. But yeah, I was all geeking out anyhow because Rob and I worked on a reissue for Brutal Planet Records, which came out fantastic. And I got a personal message from guitar player Mark Briotti. That is how you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying how much he liked it and appreciated it, and he was even I even like what you did with the artwork better than the original. So I always wondered why they had this like flat red logo on there when it was this whole thing was all about, you know, booty, pirate booty, and all that kind of stuff. So I made the logo out of gold, and he loved that idea. So anyhow,
Okay, Harry Conklin, Mark Briotti,
okay, there you
Ken
go.
Rodarty, John Teatley, and
Yep.
Ricard Sternquist on drums.
The
I think
Age of
Sternquist.
Mastery.
I think Sternquist played in Flames too. Anyway,
All right, next one,
The
Motorhead.
Age of
Bad
Mastery is
Magic.
the one we did.
yes.
I don't know what everybody thinks of this one. I liked it. Is it better than the 70s stuff or early 80s stuff? No. You could definitely hear Lemmy was struggling on this last album last studio album they did, but there's some good stuff on here, and I really enjoy it.
I think you know what you're getting with Motorhead. The thing about it is that you know these iconic bands like Motorhead or even Metallica or Megadeth or whatever. It's hard to compare it, like you said, Rob. You have when you grow up with it, and you have that emotional connection to it. It's hard for anything to beat that connection.
Yeah,
you've
nostalgia.
already
Nostalgia's powerful.
yeah, like you said. I guess that's what that is.
How about this one?
Haven't heard it.
Haven't heard it, but I heard that live at the at Good Records thing. That was good.
If you're a fan of Alice Cooper, ain't no reason you won't like this one. It's fantastic, and it's got some great players on there, including Billy Gibbons, Roger Glover, and some of the original Alice Cooper band playing on it. So it's a really, really, really good record. I got to see him on this tour, and he was great. So I don't love all his records as much as I like this one, all his recent ones, but I think this is really well done. So, and it came with the CD. That's why the CD's sitting in there.
That dude's been around 50 years, hasn't he?
I can't separate the CD from the vinyl when it comes together.
Oh.
I'm a weirdo like that. Same thing with this one. the Motorhead.
I did the same thing.
It came with the CD, so the CD's in there. Plus, there was this Best Buy exclusive disc that you could buy for $1 that came before the album that I keep inside of it as well. Last one, and this one is not amongst us necessarily, but I know amongst fans, very controversial. But this is the last Molly Hatchet studio album, which has been quite a few years now. This is it's got to be at least 10 years old or more. But I think it's a fantastic album that upholds the classic Molly Hatchet sound, keeps that Southern rock style, that heavy Southern rock style alive. The songs are great. There's a lot of jams on here. There's a couple of 6-minute tracks. I think there's an 8-minute track on here, if I'm not mistaken. I love it. Is it better than Flirting with Disaster? Probably not. But why is it controversial? There is no original members left in this band by this point. That's why, and there's a lot of 70s bands that have one or no original members left. However, it does have. Yeah, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Are they done? Or are they still touring? I don't know.
They're still touring.
So now there's no original members left. I mean, unless you consider Ricky Medlock an original member, but
no, he had a drink of water with him back in the 70s, but then he formed Blackfoot. So
okay, so there is. I say there's no original members, but the founding member of the band, Dave Flubuck, was on this record. He's pictured on there, he's listed on there, but he didn't write any of the songs, and he wrote most of the early Molly Hatchet stuff. I mean, he was basically a hired gun in the band. I got to meet him and talk to him, and what a nice guy before he passed away. But Bobby Ingram has been in the band since the 80s. and he's the one who's kept the music alive, and he's the one who bought the Molly Hatchet name from and owns the Molly Hatchet name and has kept the music alive. A lot of Molly Hatchet purists hate the guy because he's still touring under Molly Hatchet, but I think it's kind of awesome that he's keeping the music alive and keeping the Southern rock sound alive. But that's
well, it
my
would kind of
opinion.
be like Styx. I mean, they've got what one or James Young. He's the only original member left. I mean, Tommy
Yeah.
Shaw was an afterthought, and then they got everybody else is new. But they sound better than they've ever sounded, I think.
Yeah,
Have you-
There's
I know.
gotta be a blue collar man.
I mean, I don't know if you guys, either of you guys, Molly Hatchet fans.
I love Molly Hatchet. I'd love to hear the record.
I like a few of their songs.
Oh, here's the. Remember, I said I traded an album for that Ozzy. This is what I traded.
Oh, the Blood Rock? Yeah, that's a weird
Yeah.
record.
I
Local,
like it, but
local
I had, like,
Fort Worth guys.
I had like 4 copies of it. 2 of them were like in mint condition, and a friend of mine was looking for it. And I'm like, oh, I'll send you one of mine. And so I sent him one of the mint ones. This one here, I pulled out. I'm like, this thing's kind of dirty. I'm gonna probably. It's probably gonna take a visit to the trash can.
Fraser,
I
you
have a
might want to edit. You might want to edit your last quote there, buddy. You got a misspelling that's unfortunate.
Have you
Sorry,
heard of
dude.
Satan's Host?
Yeah, I can't. No. Jag
No.
Panzer, he accidentally put a P instead of a G.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. We can't say that. Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's an ender.
That's a mic drop right there. Let's just
That is
walk
a
away
mic
while we
drop.
still have our dignity.
All right, boys. Well, let's do some. Let's talk about this. You can follow me on Instagram at Metal Robs Records, where I will whip your ass about all the stuff I'm selling in my store in Plano, Texas. You can follow Scott Waters on Instagram at No Life Till Metal. You can also find him on YouTube by looking up No Life Till Metal or Scott Waters. You can follow the Carcass on Instagram at Carcass John Art, and you can find us anywhere by simply Googling the Metal Round Table. We're very glad to be with you all every Tuesday live at 5 o'clock. Sorry we weren't here last week, but it was a holiday and I was on vacation, and we all know that the show would die without me.
Ah,
No?
yeah. Well, okay. Close. Whatever,
I
Rob.
was ready for you guys to jump on me, and you didn't. But
And by the
anyway,
way, Tony Clem, if you're still with us, I got that rigor mortis directly from Bruce Corbett. I'm not sure they're available, but I can get you a regular copy that's either black or clear. So message me. We'll work it out.
yeah, so for episode number 185 of the Metal Roundtable, we are just about ready to sign off. And until
Hey, wait! Before we sign off, don't we have a sponsor?
we do mediatech.edu with campuses in Dallas and Houston. I forgot to play the
I thought we had it. I thought we had one.
video.
Right on.
I'll try to remember that next week. Mediatech.edu if you want to learn all things audio and video engineering. Go check them out. They're having a job fair right now. So with that, let's hit the outro button. Until next time, kids, metal
Metal.
will prevail.
Prevail.
I'm looking around the camera for the button.